Hey guys, JK Wargames, and today we're going to review Castle Itter by DVG Games, designed by the man himself, David Thompson. I have to say a massive thanks to Sarah for sending this to the channel for a review. It's taken a long time to get here, but it's here. So, Castle Itter, one of the strangest World War II battles, where American, German and French prisoners defended Castle Itter against SS troops, and that's what this game represents. So what I'm going to do is go through a little playthrough, show you the components and sum up with my final thoughts. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay guys, so inside the box you're going to get your full colour rulebook, and the artwork is done by Matt White. I know of Matt on the Facebook groups. Amazing artwork, stunning, so good job on that, Matt. So in the rulebook you get how long it takes to play, ages, get a nice illustration of setup, and then it goes through all the counters, the cards, and tells you how to play the game. Quite an easy game to learn, no problems at all. Really nice rulebook. Then you get 3 player aids. Now these are really nice. So these just run through the turn. So initial actions, attacks, etc. And then you get these, which I thought were really nice. Tells you what each counter does, because each counter has well, not all of them, but some of the counters have different stats and different special things you can do. So it's good to have a reminder there. And then tells you all about each card, so you don't have to keep flipping back to the rulebook. So that's nice. Then we've got the game board, which you'll see in action in a minute, but this is really nice when it's laid out. Now I'll show you the counters in a minute. You've got these blocks, but I'm not sure what these are for. I couldn't find in the rule book what they're for. I guess you can use these instead of counters, not sure. So if I bring over the counters here, let's move that to one side. I've got the counters and cards in a tray here, so if I just take this off, I'll show you some of the counters. So these are the SS enemy rifleman counters, really nice. You're going to get these little circle ones, you get action ones, so when guys have taken an action you place one of these on there. Suppression markers, you'll see why these are important in a minute. The enemy also have things like mortars and machine gunners. Then we get into some of the American counters, and the stats stand for he can roll 1 dice in attack, or he can exhaust to use 1 suppression marker or gain 1. And then you're going to get reserve counters. Now you get 3 of these, and these don't come in until you draw the reserve card. So that's the counters. You get 4 dice in the game, 5 dice, sorry, in the game. And then you get your cards, which I probably struggle to get out of here. So these are the enemy cards. So what you do in the game, you make the deck, and then you're going to draw 3 cards each turn. And then you can see here, Rifleman, it says you place 2 of them. So you're going to roll for Rifleman and place 2. And this is his defense value. And then you get things like mortars, and then you get special attacks. So a pack 40, he's going to target a location and then attack it with 4 dice. So really nice cards. And then you do get tactical cards to make the game even harder. So if I can find them in here, these cards here, these coloured ones, you can add these to make the game even harder. More of a challenge, but I think the game's a challenge. I've only won a couple of times. So that's all your components you're going to get. So what we'll do now is we'll lay out the board and I'll show you how the game works. Okay guys, so here's the board. As you can see, it's quite a big board, but in the middle here you've got the castle itself, Castle Itter. And then you've got the gatehouse down here, and you've got the Sherman tank in the gateway down here. Now at the start of the game, you're going to get riflemen on all the spaces around the board. So these circles are numbered, and they go up to 10. So, no, sorry, no they don't, they go up to 12. So they go up to 12. Now, during the game, when you roll for enemies to come in, if you haven't got a suppression marker, these enemies are going to be pushed forward up the track, and then the other enemy will come in here. Now, if this keeps happening, these guys are going to get further and further up the track. If these guys get into the castle, you've lost the game. So it's about stopping the riflemen getting into the castle. Well, any enemy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in to the castle here and show you the first part of gameplay. Okay, so for the first part of gameplay, each turn the defender gets 5 actions. But when the game starts, there's no defenders on the board. And you're going to spend 4 turns putting 5 defenders onto the spaces in the castle and in the gatehouse, etc. So we can take 5 guys. So we take this first American counter, you get to choose, and we're going to place him on this number 4 here. Now the minute you place him down, you take an action. And an action can be firing, moving to a different location, recovering, or getting a suppress marker. So if this guy wants to fire, he can fire at anyone on a green track because he's on the green. So we could fire at this rifleman down here, and this guy, say this guy's here. So what he does, he looks at his stat and he can roll 1 dice. So we're going to take an attack action with him. So he gets to roll 1 dice, and we're choosing to fire at this rifleman here. At the start of the game, they're going to be on circles, but let's just say this guy's here. So we need a 3. We roll our dice, and we scored a 3. That removes that counter from the game. So once he's done that, he is exhausted, and you flip the counter to its exhausted side. As you can see here, exhausted. Now he's done for the turn, and you place an action counter on top of him. So he's done. Next we would bring in another guy of our choice. This time we're bringing in a German rifleman. Now he can be placed anywhere we want. Let's place him on the red. So he's placed there. Now instead of taking a shot, he's going to exhaust to gain a suppression counter. So he's going to exhaust himself like that, flip the counter, and then we gain a suppression counter, and we place it in the red box. So if we come over here, you can see we've placed it in the red box. And if we were on a purple space and we done that, we would put it in the purple, and so on. So that's our second guy. Now you'd carry on doing this until you've done 5 actions, and then the next turn you bring on 5 more guys. Once you've got all 20 guys on, then you can choose whoever you want on the board and do your actions. So if this was after the 4th turn, if this guy's exhausted, you can spend 1 action to recover him. So you're going to find that a lot of guys are going to be exhausted. So you're going to spend some turns just flipping guys back over. So let's have a look over at the tank track over here. So you can see here, this is the tank track, and you can place counters that have a T on them. So obviously this is a tanker, a tank crew, and he can be placed in any of these spaces. So we would place him here in the 76mm cannon, okay, and he gets to use these stats. So you can see he gets to roll 3 dice, but he could also use 6 suppression tokens and put them in the black box. But the difference is he has to have a loader here in the 76mm cannon load box. So we'd get another tanker here, and he's there. Now he would have to spend an action to flip to load the 76mm gun, and then you would place this on top of this guy, and if he's got an action available, he can then fire that 76mm gun. So that's how that works, and obviously there's other positions here, and then there's gatehouse here. So that's positions. Let's have a look at the French in the cellar. So at the start of a game, the 5 French counters are in the cellar. Now, they cannot move into the castle until all 20 counters have been placed of your friendly defenders. Once they have, though, the only place these guys can move to straight away is the Great Hall. They can't move to anywhere else. Once they've moved to the Great Hall, in next turns after, they can then move to another location. And this guy here, he has the escape trait. Now if he manages to be on a track where there are no SS soldiers, which is very rare, it's very hard, he can do the escape action. You remove him from the board, and then the reserve card is put into the deck, and then if that card is revealed, the game ends. But it's very hard to achieve that. So what we'll do is now we'll look at how the enemy turn works. So I've drawn 3 cards from the deck, and the 3 cards we have are a rifleman, a machine gunner, and a pack 40. That card shouldn't be underneath there, but don't worry about it. Okay, so we start with the rifleman. Now, we have to roll to see what position they come in, and it says we place 2 of them. So we're going to place 2 riflemen, and we need to roll for what position they come in at. So let's do that now. So we're going to roll 2d6. So we roll. We've rolled 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're coming in on track 8. Okay, so this is track 8 here. So we're going to bring in a rifleman counter, which we've got here. Now, what happens is, this pushes this guy to the next track, and he stays there. If another rifleman came in here on number 8, that would push this guy along, and then he would push along until they get to the castle. But we can try and stop this. This is where our suppression counters come in. So if we had a suppression counter in a black box, we can use it because this is a black coloured track. So to do that, we would, let's say this guy's here, to stop this guy coming in, we would roll 1 die and try and beat his defense value. So we need a 3 or more. So we roll 1 dice, we rolled a 5. That means this rifleman does not come into the game, and this guy is not pushed along. That suppression counter is then removed. But if we failed that roll, this guy is pushed to the next bit, and this guy comes in. So suppression counters are really, really critical, because before you know it, you'll have enemies all over the map. Okay, so the next card is a machine gunner. Now machine gunners are a bit different. You're still going to roll 2d6 to see where they come in. So we'll do that now. And we rolled 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're coming in on track 7. So as you can see, the machine gunner is placed on track 7. Now machine gunners or mortars never move. They just stay in this space, and there can be as many of them as, you know, there's no limit to them being there. So instead of them pushing along the track, they don't push this guy along the track, they just come in and stay there. Now, when they enter, they're going to see if they disrupt any enemies in a black location. So what they do is they roll 1d6, a 5, and then they check any black boxes to see if any enemies are in box number 5. So we do have a guy here in a black box. It's numbered 4 to 6. So the machine gunner is going to see if he can disrupt him. Now he needs a 6 because the structure rating of the gatehouse at the moment is on a 6. If this had been attacked and this was lower, he'd need a 5 or a 4. But at the moment it's a 6. So he rolled 2 dice, and would you believe it, he's rolled a 6. Now because he's rolled a 6, that means that guy is disrupted, and that's placed on top of him. And that means that this guy will have to use an action to remove it. If he's exhausted, he has to use an action to remove it, and then he's still exhausted because he can't use another action. You can only use 1 action per turn. If you gain 2 disruption markers, he becomes a casualty and is removed from the game. And then any mortars or machine gunners that come in will do that every time they come in, or if a special card is drawn. So let's have a look at the pack 40 card now. So the pack 40 card, we roll 1d6 and we've rolled a 6, and that means the Great Hall is attacked from a pack 40. And as you can see, the Great Hall is right here. So the Great Hall at the moment is on a 6. Now the pack 40 is attacking the building. It's not attacking individual units or men, it's attacking the building. So you can see this 4 in a circle means the pack 40 rolls 4 dice. So we're going to roll 4 dice, and we're going to need 6s because this is at 6. If this was on 5, again, we'd need 5s. If it was on 4, we'd need 4s. So we're going to roll our dice, and there's no 6s. So that, the Great Wall is fine. The Great Hall, sorry, is fine. It is not reduced. But if we rolled a 6, that would go down to 5. And then next time, if that's attacked due to a card, it's going to need 5s. Now, if this was already on 4 and you attack and you get results of 4, which we don't, if you get a result of 4, you're going to disrupt anyone in that location. So all soldiers in this location would be disrupted if it's already on 4. So that's how that works. Now, commanders in the game, if they've got this C, they can spend an action to recover up to 3 guys from being exhausted. So he exhausts himself, and then these guys get to flip. He's taken an action, but these guys are now free to do an action. So commanders are really worth holding on to, but obviously if they get eliminated, then you're in trouble. But it's a good way of recovering your guys quickly. Now the other thing is, if you're in the same location, you can move your guys for free. So I could swap positions here, like this. That doesn't cost an action. That's free because we're in the same location. But if I wanted this guy to move into the Great Hall, that's going to cost me an action. So that's a neat little thing about movement. So another thing is, if this guy became a casualty, if he's knocked out the game, because this guy has low morale, that's what that M stands for, he has a low morale, he also becomes a casualty. He's just knocked out the game like that. So be careful where you put these guys. So as the game goes on, you're going to find that guys are going to push further and further towards this, and it's a choice of, do I attack or do I get suppression tokens? It really does capture this thing of where a few defenders trying to defend this castle and the SS are pushing up on us. It is really tense when you play it. A really, really good design from David Thompson. I absolutely love the way he's designed this game. So if I zoom out, I'll just show you what I mean. So as you can see in this example, the riflemen on the green to yellow track are on the last one. Now, if any more guys come in on a green track and we haven't got a suppression to stop them, that's going to force this guy into the castle and the game is over. So you would have to move guys about to make sure that they can attack these guys. So you really need to try and use the benefits to your advantage. So you get an inspire. Some of these leaders have inspire an eye, and that means they grant another dice roll to a soldier. So if they're in the same coloured location, this guy now goes from 1 dice to 2 dice because he's inspiring him, and he's not exhausted for doing that. He's just inspiring him. He's next to him, so he now gets to roll 2 dice, needing 3s because of that rifleman's defense. And we get a 5, we get hit. That would take him out of the game, and we're safe for another turn. So those are the basics of the game. It really is a thing of enemies just keep pushing up, and what I found is when a track gets close, every time you roll a dice to see where a rifleman comes in, they always come in on the track you don't want them to. It is so annoying. And then you're going to get to a stage in the castle, even though you've got 20 guys, you'll find that some turns, so many of them are exhausted that you're just spending actions to unexhaust them. So you have to be really careful about what you're doing. And I was quite surprised actually, there was a lot of decision making, I think, in this. So that was really nice part of the game. So that is a look at how the game works. So what we'll do is we'll wrap up and I'll give you my final thoughts. So there we have Castle Itter by DVG. A must-have in my opinion. I know in all these reviews I say, oh, these are fantastic, but I just think, this design by David Thompson is brilliant. It's actually a really simple game, but the amount of tension in it is unreal. Each game plays out differently. I've won 2 games and lost 2 games, and they've always been nail-biting right to the end. So yeah, definitely a must-have in my opinion, especially if you're into World War II. This is one to pick up. There's not much else I can say really. I've wanted to play it for a long time. Due to what's going on at the moment, it took a long time to get here, but I'm glad it's here because it's an awesome game. So congratulations to DVG and David Thompson for putting this out. So if you like this video, make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and tell me in the comments section what you thought about this game. Okay guys, till next time, see you then.